Hello, good morning, Patrick.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good, Nathalie. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for your time.
It's my pleasure.
I love your backyard.
Thank
Beautiful backyard.
We feel blessed. We feel like we're the custodians of these amazing redwoods, and it's our duty to look after them.
Yes, beautiful. You can't see, but there are trees. They're very, very high up, and they're beautiful. So let's start with an introduction.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Ryan has traveled the world speaking, coaching, and leading retreats and workshops in 15 different countries to thousands of people to work on the importance of creating and leading with positive impact. As a former Buddhist monk in Burma, Patrick practiced the path of Awaken wisdom. He has written 2 bestsellers based on his life, business, and learning experiences. He has studied with several indigenous teachers in a variety of wisdoms. He's an entrepreneur, creating and leading his own small business inspirations. Patrick works with professionals, executives, and entrepreneurs, powerfully integrating ancient teachings and modern applications to more deeply understand and integrate all life experiences and wisdom to propel you to your highest calling and goals. Patrick works with his global clientele as a coach, hypnotherapist, mediator, vision quest guide, and retreat facilitator. I am amazed and eager to know a little more about your Buddhist experience in Burma.
Yeah, that was an extraordinary adventure, and I do use the word adventure because that's how it felt to me at the time. And it was an adventure that took me from the place of the mind. It took me to realizations that I could never have even known what to ask for. It was an adventure from the place of the heart in terms of how I was brought into relationships with the local people, the monks and the lay people in Burma, and was taken on this extraordinary journey to their villages in the far backwoods. And everywhere I went, people opened up their homes and their hearts to me, and it was a very, very moving journey. And it was certainly an adventure of the body, just to be living the life of a monk in a very, very basic form, and to be physically traveling around the country, sometimes by bullock cart and sometimes in tiny boats, and sometimes to be even hidden in the back of trucks because at that time the military didn't want us going where we were going.
Tell us how you use it to help others.
Yeah, hypnotherapy, for my own personal experience and also in using it in my practice, is a very profound way to unlock a lot of barriers that people might be working with at deeper levels. I'm trained in medical forms of hypnotherapy as well as I apply it to leadership contexts as well in the entrepreneurial world. And so if somebody is dealing with mental, physical, emotional things such as anxiety or any illnesses that manifest in their bodies, hypnotherapy is a very powerful complement to all the other things that they're doing to create well-being. In the leadership, entrepreneurial, corporate world, as leaders in organizations, in this day and age, we are asked to respond to opportunities and challenges in a very complex world. And this world is moving faster and faster. The levels of complexity are getting more and more different because they shift all the time, and they just come at us faster. And so hypnotherapy is a very powerful process that actually allows us to get really centered into our highest inner wisdoms, our highest inner forms. And in order to do that, a lot of what I do in hypnotherapy is help people get past anxiety, creating ideas. It might be the anxiety of meeting deadlines. As a leader, we've got to be able to speak in public, so any anxieties that come around that. And also using hypnotherapy to support people in tapping into the highest vision of what they're called for. And that's a really amazing process, is to watch when somebody is really opened up to experiencing their own vision. And then the coaching comes in to support them in moving forward to fulfill that calling.
My next question is about Vision Quest guiding. How do you guide vision guests and retreats all over the world? And what are the benefits for people who are interested in attending those?
Yeah, thank you. You know, a long time ago when I was a young entrepreneur, this very elderly man who I had never even met before just walked into my business one day, and we started talking about what I was up to. And he just looked over at me and he says, look, the one thing I would want you to know is, like, he was giving me part of his wisdom, which I never forgot. He says, the most important thing you can do for yourself is to regularly step off to the side of your life and turn around and look back at how you're doing. Because when you're trying to look at how you're doing when you're inside the swirl and the busyness, it's just really challenging to get the perspective that's really available. So I started doing that. I started going off on my own, on either self-guided trips or going out onto vision quests that would be guided by people. And I had these really amazing experiences of insight that would come through that helped me to navigate the life that I've lived. And so over the years, I became more and more intrigued by that process and started guiding them myself, using nature, using the environment of this amazing desert experience to help inform us about what's up for us now.
Okay.
It's a very it's everything from a mystical process to a pragmatic process, and I'm always amazed at where it takes people.
My next question is about your books. So I have a couple of books here, and I will let you talk about each one of them and introduce to our viewers how these books can help.
Sure, my pleasure. Maybe I'll start with this one first. This was the one that I wrote originally. It's called The Eagle's Call. This is a storybook. You know, I think one of the greatest gifts of generosity that we can give to each other is our stories.
Right.
And I don't know about you, but when I hear people's stories, somewhere in there I can find myself in their story, and I can learn from their journey. I can learn from their experience. And so that's what this book, it's a very transparent telling of the story, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know, about being an entrepreneur when I was younger, about living on the street, about becoming a Buddhist monk. I've heard from people that it's been very inspiring and they get a lot from it, and it was very scary for me to write this because I tend to be a very private person, so to reveal all this information was very edgy for me, but I'm glad I did it.
Very courageous. Thank you for doing it.
And then this one was after many years of leading retreats and working with a lot of teachers from around the world, indigenous teachers, my teacher as a Buddhist monk, I kind of started formulating my own philosophy, integrating all of these different influences.
Okay.
And I was offering this to people through the Vision Quest and a lot of retreats, and it just became obvious that it was time to start getting it down into a book.
Okay.
And so this is the book. It's called Awaken Wisdom, A Guide to Reclaiming Your Brilliance. And the idea is that we're born brilliant. We're actually born bright. We're born open. We're born really shiny. And then life will kind of shape and polish and cut us a little bit.
Yes.
And that process brings out more and more of our brilliance if we allow it. If we allow it to.
Correct.
And so this is that book. And again, it was a lot of fun to write, and I've had a lot of good feedback on it, and I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you. Brilliant. Awaken Wisdom.
Yes. Yeah, this one is called The Awe of Awakening, a guidebook. And the inspiration for this book, which followed up the last one, was a lot of people would show me the Awaken Wisdom book, and it would be really worn out and dog-eared from opening up in so many pages.
Okay.
And so a lot of people asked me, says, look, why don't you consider writing a book that's really meant just to randomly open it to any page and just take in that page as something to reflect on for the day.
Okay.
And I really liked the idea of that, so
Yes.
that's what I did. So I came up with a model called the 8 States of an Awakened Life. And so there's 8 different sections in here. And when somebody is living all of these 8 states at a high level, the experience they're having in their life is beautiful, it's bright, it's open, even in the challenging moments. It doesn't mean that life is just always, like a easy ride. But it does mean that no matter what life is putting in our path, there's a good way to respond to that.
Okay.
And so this is kind of like a daily workbook on how to access your own wisdom so you can respond to your own life.
Tell us and tell the viewers a little bit more about what you do for prisons.
Yeah, well, part of my philosophy is when the phone rings, you say yes and then ask them what they wanted.
Right.
And one day the phone rang from somebody who I had met a few times along my journey. And she did a lot of work inside prisons. And she asked me, she was familiar with my work.
Okay.
And she asked me if I was willing to bring my work into prison and offer it to the prisoners. And we'll just see how it goes. It felt a bit like an experiment, and I was very interested and curious in that. So I agreed.
Okay.
So originally it was just meant to be a one-time 2-day program. And so I went into San Quentin prison and I presented it to some of the life prisoners in there. And, it just started kind of snowballing from there. And now it's become a very regular offering inside San Quentin prison. So I work with the men in there, and it's like a coaching circle combined with a teaching circle. And what we're going through is the 8 states of an awakened life.
Okay.
And there's a lot of layers of what goes on with the guys in there, but I feel like we're all responsible for creating this society.
Right.
And this society has got a lot of obviously very beautiful aspects to it, and there's a lot of things in this world that we could do a lot better on.
Right.
So I believe that a lot of the people that are incarcerated right now are there. They have their own responsibility in it, but we have a responsibility for the society we've created.
Okay.
That is creating the conditions where so many of these people end up in prisons, both men and women.
Right.
And so what I've learned through doing this work is that when these men learn how to access their higher wisdoms instead of the voices inside them of fear and doubt that had them make some very bad choices in their past.
Right.
When they learn how to access the higher wisdom, for a lot of these guys, it's a revelation to know that that's something they can choose to do.
Yes.
They've never been, for a lot of them, they've just never been shown how to tap into that side of who they are.
Okay.
And so that's a lot of the work we do in there is connecting them to what I call the good man in them.
Okay.
In fact, on the very first day I meet each group, I invite them to join in the circle. And the way I frame it for them is I say, the good man in me is here to meet the good man in them.
Okay.
And it's amazing to see once they get an understanding of what I mean by that, they stand taller and they look brighter.
Okay.
And then they go through this process of healing, of taking responsibility for what they've done. And, at some point, a lot of these guys are going to get out and they're going to become our neighbors. And I want my neighbor to know how to live in this kind of way so they don't repeat the kind of behavior that got them there in the first place.
Right.
So,
great. Very inspiring.
Yeah, it's been a real privilege on my part to be able to go in and do that.
Well, thank you for giving back. Thank you, Patrick, again. And to our viewers, if you want to learn more about Patrick, please visit his websites, www.awakenedwisdom.com or www.awevisionquest.com, or you can email him directly at info@awakenedwisdom.com.